tonight on CTV3 News. A major drug bust here in the north as authorities seize over 11 kilograms of cocaine in Corozal. 2 men are arrested and charged. At the courts, Elmer Nad denies the shooting, high-profile triple murder trial as justice orders he must face trial for triple murder. In the South, cops detain and charge one person for murders of Luis Barillas and Derek Arnold. And in political news, the opposition furthers its call for transparency in the proposed acquisition of SpeedNet by BTL, while the Belize Chamber of Commerce supports GOB's pause on the deal. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Tuesday, February 10th, 2026.
From whiskeys and wines to elegantly crafted cocktails. Paired with charcuterie boards and perfectly seasoned steak bites, and much more. Perfect for celebrations, quiet nights, and every special occasion in between. 7 Notes Wine and Spirits, where every sip hits the right note.
ExpressNet now has up to 400 megabytes of high-speed internet. Choose the speed that fits you. From faster browsing to faster gaming. Connect more devices at once. Or bundle it with Express Plus and HBO Max. Internet and streaming entertainment, all in one.
Yeah, faster starts here.
Sign up today at any Centaur office or contact us to get started.
They got so much things to say right now. They got so much things to say.
The way some people are talking you'd never know, but the most blatant nepotism and fleecing of BTL took place under UDP when Dean Barrow was Prime Minister. Barrow placed his son Anwar on BTL's board in 2009 as soon as he nationalized the company, which would eventually cost Belizeans almost $650 million for shares barely worth $200 million. By 2014, Anwar was appointed executive chairman with extravagant salary and perks. Under him, BTL spent wildly on ventures that did not materialize and never brought any returns. Under the Barrows, BTL's profits plummeted from $38 million in 2009 to $17 million in 2019, and $10 million in 2020, as the company hardly paid dividends to government and people of Belize. Anwar Barrow has no moral authority to talk about BTL, as it was under his nepotistic rule, appointed by his father, that BTL was most blatantly fleeced.
They got so much things to say right now. They got so much things to say.
Good evening. With your news also simulcast on Fiesta FM 106.7. I am Joanna Rodriguez. In a major blow to drug trafficking here in the north, police have arrested 2 men after uncovering a large catch of cocaine during an early morning raid. On Monday, February 9, 2026, at approximately 8 a.m., officers executed a search warrant at the residence in Corozal town. The operation led to the arrest of 37-year-old Camille Bowden, an unemployed Belizean, and 48-year-old Terence Lopez, a known tour guide. The police found the suspects near a Nissan Rogue parked at the property's entrance. Bowden, who possessed the keys, allowed officers to conduct a thorough search. Inside the vehicle, authorities discovered 10 parcels of cocaine, weighing a total of 11,408 grams, more than 11 kilograms of illegal drugs. The seizure marks one of the largest drug busts in the region this year, and both men were formally charged with possession of controlled substances with intent to supply. They appeared before the Corozal Magistrates Court, where they pleaded not guilty. Bail was denied, and their case has been set for further proceedings on May 12, 2026. Today's proceedings in a high-profile triple murder trial of 40-year-old Elmer now focus on critical legal arguments as Justice Nigel Pilgrim dismissed a no-case submission and ordered Nat to stand trial on 3 counts of murder. The defendant delivered a 27-minute statement from the dock, vehemently denying being the shooter and raising concerns about the strength of the evidence against him. Na declined to call any alibi witnesses, opting instead to rely solely on his verbal statement. The case has now been adjourned until March 13, 2026, when the court will hear oral submissions from both sides. Yesterday, the court granted an adjournment after Na's legal representative, Dr. Lyndon Jones, formally submitted a comprehensive no-case argument following the conclusion of the Crown's lengthy trial. That trial included a voir dire process during which Justice Pilgrim allowed key pieces of evidence such as the late witness Vivian Ramnarese's statement and other critical items to be admitted. In December, Dr. Jones indicated plans to file a no-case submission, prompting the judge to instruct both parties to prepare written arguments. Central to Dr. Jones's argument was the contention that, despite the evidence being admitted, Nash should have not be required to defend himself due to insufficient identification linking him to the crime. Justice Pilgrim confirmed receipt of Dr. Jones's extensive submission, while Crown Counsel Terence Williams relied on arguments previously articulated during the voir dire, supporting the admissibility of vital evidence, including the witness statement, the pair of boots police claimed to find in Na's pickup, and a headlamp purportedly worn during the murders. Earlier in the trial, the court had authorized the use of several key pieces of evidence: Vivian Ramnarese's witness statement, the alleged boots, and the headlamp. Na challenged the evidence, pointing out discrepancies such as the lack of a tattoo on the man seen in the video footage, who was the purported shooter, compared to his own tattoo, which was done 17 years prior to the murders. He also disputed ownership of the boots, noting that his own were black and orange, whereas the evidence boots were all black. Now further argued that enhanced footage could potentially identify the real perpetrator and emphasize the importance of a fair trial, urging that the case be based on facts rather than speculation. Authorities have formally charged 25-year-old Karan George Augustin, a local barber from St. Bite Village, in connection with a deadly shooting that occurred earlier this week. Augustin faces 2 counts of murder following the tragic deaths of 2 men outside a residence on Queen Street. The incident took place on Saturday, February 7, when Augustin allegedly opened fire on Luis Barrias, 24, and Derek Arnold, 43, in front of Barrias' home. According to police reports, the victims were socializing at the residence when an armed individual approached the gate and called out for Barrias. As both men stepped forward to see what was happening, the gunman reportedly began shooting indiscriminately. Derek Arnold was struck multiple times and Luis Barrias sustained gunshot wounds to the head and face. Sadly, both men succumbed to their injuries at the scene. Authorities are examining several possible motives behind the shooting, including ongoing drug-related conflicts in the neighborhood and the mysterious disappearance of Canadian expatriate Alfred Plale, which has garnered significant attention locally and internationally. Investigators are urging anyone with information to come forward as they work to piece together the events leading up to the murders. The Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry, BCCI, has expressed strong support for the recent statement made by the Minister of Public Utilities in the House of Representatives, calling for a pause on the proposed acquisition of SpeedNet Smart by Belize Telemedia Limited, BTL. In a clear stance, the minister emphasized the necessity for careful scrutiny and the need for the Public Utilities Commission, PUC, to exercise diligent oversight before proceeding with the merger. The BCCI today echoed that call, highlighting that Belize currently lacks modern competition and merger control laws, which raises concerns about the adequacy of the regulatory framework to safeguard the public interest. The Chamber urges the PUC to advocate for and the Government of Belize GOB to implement all necessary legislative amendments to ensure that decisions regarding the transaction are transparent, well regulated, and aligned with the national interest. This includes addressing critical questions related to the valuation methodology and financial implications of the deal, especially given the involvement of public funds and the Social Security Board's SSB exposure. Speaking on the decision on Friday last, Prime Minister John Briceño explained that temporary halt should allow regulators to address growing public concern and widespread misinformation surrounding the potential merger.
What has been happening is that I think that they put the cart ahead of the horse. That the PUC and the minister felt it's only right now that put everything. What has been happening is that I think that what has been happening is that I think that they put the cart ahead of the horse. That the PUC needs to get involved. The PUC, for instance, when BL wants to buy an equipment that costs $30 million, for instance, and they want to make certain expansions and they want to increase rates, they have to go to the PUC, and the PUC would then take a hard look at what they're doing, look at the numbers, and see if it is correct, if it works or not. And so the same thing applies to telecommunications. And so it is then the minister felt it's only right now that put everything on hold. There's just been a lot of misinformation from both sides. So he felt that the best thing to do right now is for the PUC to step in and to take a look at what the BTL is proposing, and then to see if it is something that is in the best interest of the country. And then they could make a recommendation as to the way forward.
So the halt is so the instruction is essentially for BTL and SpeedNet to halt any discussions they're having between each other.
Well, that discussion has already happened. What is happening now is and I don't know all the details. I think Minister Shabat would be the best person that you could answer you. But basically, is to be able for the Public Utilities Commission to put everything on a stop and say, okay, guys, we legally should step in. We should have been the first one. You should have come to, and for us to be able to take a look at what is it that you're proposing. So that by itself is you're going to do that. Also, there's supposed to have been regulations a long time ago. I think SMART went to court to make the case that BTL is a dominant provider, and the court case they won in court, but the previous government never made any kind of implementations or regulations to ensure that there can be some kind of level playing field between both players. So again, because of all that has been happening now, the PUC is saying we need to do regulations. We need to relook at the issue of whether BTL is a dominant provider, and also to look at if it makes sense what BTL is proposing with a merger.
The Chamber emphasizes that the regulator has a duty to ensure that both the spirit and the letter of the law are upheld, thereby maintaining trust and integrity within the industry. It also reaffirmed its willingness to participate constructively in any genuine public consultation led by the PUC, advocating for transparency and accountability in the process. The United Democratic Party, UDP, today hosted a press conference to outline what it says are pressing national issues, with primary focus placed on the proposed acquisition of SpeedNet by Belize Telemedia Limited BTL. While the proposed deal has officially been placed on pause, an announcement made in the House of Representatives on Friday Opposition leader Tracy Panton did not hold back in her criticism of the transaction. Panton described the proposed acquisition as fundamentally flawed and argued that it is not in the best interest of the Belizean people.
We have before us a rushed, secret telecom deal. There is $80 million in exposure if this deal proceeds. $80 million plus stamp duties, plus legal fees, plus closing costs, plus, most importantly, interest payments. There is no transparency. That is well established. There is no independent valuation or assessments, no clear benefits to consumers. It represents a sea change in public policy with no parliamentary oversight, no word from SSB, no word from the regulators, the PUC, at a time, and I know I sound like a scratch record whenever I say this, but it is the absolute truth. At a time when the cost of living continues to spiral.
Panton noted that with discussions on the deal now paused, the UDP intends to use this period to engage with key stakeholders to clearly outline the party's position on the matter.
And sometimes we have to hold those cards very close to our chest. But I will say that the members of our parliamentary caucus and our leadership team will seek an audience with the Public Utilities Commission, and we will also seek an audience with the SSB, so we can ventilate to them directly and on record what our position is with the BTL acquisition and why. There was a 10-slide power presentation giving all the bells and whistles, but none of the real data. So we have been pulling data, information out of BTL. Whenever the temperature gets too hot in the room, there's a little bit more information that BTL provides. That is not how we conduct the affairs of the people. We need for an independent evaluation, and if the regulatory framework is weak, as we have indicated it indeed is, then we must strengthen the regular framework before any such deal or acquisition is allowed to proceed.
In the meantime, the opposition leaders stressed the need for greater transparency, saying that more detailed information about the proposed acquisition should be made available to the public as consultations continue.
There was a 10-slide power presentation giving all the bells and whistles, but none of the real data. So we have been pulling data, information out of BTL. Whenever the temperature gets too hot in the room, there's a little bit more information that BTL provides. That is not how we conduct the affairs of the people. We need for an independent evaluation, and if the regulatory framework is weak, as we have indicated it indeed is, then we must strengthen the regular framework before any such deal or acquisition is allowed to proceed.
Coming up next, 3 weeks into the new crop season, the sugar industry faces challenges as the factory deals with mechanical issues. Stay tuned.
They got so much things to say right now. They got so much things to say.
The way some people are talking you'd never know, but the most blatant nepotism and fleecing of BTL took place under UDP when Dean Barrow was Prime Minister. Barrow placed his son Anwar on BTL's board in 2009 as soon as he nationalized the company, which would eventually cost Belizeans almost $650 million for shares barely worth $200 million. By 2014, Anwar was appointed executive chairman with extravagant salary and perks. Under him, BTL spent wildly on ventures that did not materialize and never brought any returns. Under the Barrows, BTL's profits plummeted from $38 million in 2009 to $17 million in 2019, and $10 million in 2020, as the company hardly paid dividends to government and people of Belize. Anwar Barrow has no moral authority to talk about BTL, as it was under his nepotistic rule, appointed by his father, that BTL was most blatantly fleeced.
They got so much things to say right now. They got so much things to say.
Basketball fans, the NBA season is back and more electrifying than ever.
Forever.
Witness every battle, every dunk, and every overhead and back pass with Centaur's Express Plus app. This season is a must-watch event packed with heart-stopping moments and unforgettable plays. Don't miss out. Stream all the action live on the Centaur's Express Plus app. Express Plus, your front row seat to the 2025 NBA season.
The 2025 sugarcane crop season, which officially got underway just last month, is now facing early challenges following mechanical issues at the Belize Sugar Industries BSI factory. The start of the crop was already delayed due to a number of difficulties encountered by the industry last year. Despite renewed optimism among farmers and stakeholders at the onset of the season, milling operations have slowed in recent days after a breakdown in one of the boilers at BSI factory. The mechanical failure has resulted in reduced milling capacity for several days, raising concerns about potential delays if the issue is not resolved promptly. Chairman of the Sugar Industry Production Committee, SCPC, Marcos Osorio, says efforts are underway to address the problem as quickly as possible. Osorio noted that there is hope the issue will be resolved swiftly to avoid further disruption to the milling season, particularly as the quality of cane currently being delivered remains at a good standard.
Así que pedimos a todos operar, ser pacientes. Sí, la situación está difícil. En este momento tenemos muy buena calidad de caña y desafortunadamente debido a los problemas del boiler, pues se retrasa la entrega, se retrasa el tiempo de que se quema la caña hasta la entrega y eso, queramos o no, afecta la calidad de la caña al final del día. Pero también pedimos que controlen las quemas a partir del sábado y desafortunadamente el cañero pues no escucha porque todavía no debían de estar quemando, especialmente si aún tienen caña preparado y siempre vimos que se llevaron a cabo quemas el día sábado. Entonces eso solo puede complicar más la situación de calidad, aun cuando tenemos muy buena calidad en el campo en este momento. Pero es algo que está fuera del alcance, son situaciones o problemas mecánicos del ingenio. Estamos conscientes que están haciendo todo lo posible para resolver, pero pues reparan y se les aparecen otras fugas y pues eso va retrasando todo el proceso. Así que por favor se mantengan apegados a la información que comparte el SCPC. Y creo que en este momento lo más lógico es controlar quemas, especialmente si en este momento los grupos tienen 1 o 2 viajes preparados.
Industry stakeholders continue to monitor the situation closely as prolonged delays could impact both production schedules and farmers' returns as the crop season progresses.
Día estábamos viendo cómo va mejorando el TCTS, pero debido a la situación con el boiler, pues va fluctuando, pero sí estamos mucho mejor que el año pasado. Correctamente lo dices, el año pasado andábamos por ahí de los 20 TCTS y hoy andamos promediando en 12. Estamos muy bien, pero necesitamos mayor cooperación. Sabemos que frustra a los jefes de grupo, especialmente por el tema de mano de obra, porque los cortadores están ahí para ganar bien cada día, pero debido a los retrasos, hasta ellos salen afectados. Así que esperamos de que sí se resuelva la situación pronto para que podamos tener una molienda estable a un buen ritmo.
During its press conference today, the United Democratic Party, UDP, also turned its attention to the incoming tax changes contained in the Trade License Amendment Bill. The bill, which has been passed in the House of Representatives but has not yet been ratified by the Senate, aims to modernize the way trade license fees are calculated. Among its provisions is a 3-year adjustment clause stipulating that license fees should not increase or decrease by more than 10% of the annual fee levied on a trade prior to the commencement of the amendment. Former Belmopan Mayor Khalid Belai, speaking on the matter, raised concerns on behalf of several businesses owners who, he says, are already facing what they describe as exorbitant increases despite the inclusion of the 3-year limitation clause.
And it says Section 2, Subsection 5 states very clearly, notwithstanding Subsection 1 and 3, for a period of 3 years from the commencement of this section, the annual license fee A, in the case of a trade existing before the commencement of this section, shall not be greater or less than 10% of the annual license fee levied on that trade before the commencement of this section. And B, in the case of a trade after the commencement of this section, shall not be greater or less than 10% of the annual license fee levied on similar trades before the commencement of this section. Ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, if you are paying $1,000 in 2025 and $1,000 in 2026, when the Senate ratifies this bill for the years of 2027, 28, and 29, the maximum you should pay in trade license fee is that $1,000 plus 10%, or $100. So a total of $1,100 for the next 3 years. What happens after the 3 years expires? Well, that is something that the new formula will dictate, but at least you will have had some time to prepare for it. Kudos to whoever it was that insisted on putting this language in the bill, whether it was a technocrat, some member of the business community, or a layman out on the street. I commend them for giving businesses an opportunity to at least prepare for this. Now, that same business house knows that if nothing changes, 3 years from now, my trade license going up by $15,000, $16,000. But at least I know ahead of time, right?
As businesses navigate the incoming transition period, Bellisle urged municipal councils to exercise responsibility and transparency when implementing the changes.
To ensure that there's consideration, that there is proper advisement ahead of time, so that we are not blindsiding our residents. And that goes for trade license, which is the hot button issue at this point in time, goes for garbage fees, which I have seen pop up on the Facebook discussion over the past couple of days. And yes, for property fees, this morning I was scrolling through a post on one of the social media sites and saw a gentleman say that his property fees had gone up by 18% in one regard, but had also increased by 40% in another regard. The difference being that the one where it went up by 18, he has a structure on it, and the one that it went up by 40 is vacant. I don't know that there's provision for a differentiation such as that, but it's what's been done, it's what's been assessed, it's what's been issued. And so it is that we in the UDP ask our councils, our municipal councils, we ask the wider government to please let us see how we can ease the tax burden on the Belizean people.
The UDP is now calling on municipal leaders to ease the tax burden on businesses rather than increase it, warning that sudden or excessive hikes in trade license fees could destabilize small businesses and threaten livelihoods across the country. Yesterday, Belize took a significant step forward in agricultural development with the signing of a groundbreaking agreement between Honorable Rodwell Ferguson, Minister of Agriculture, Food Security and New Growth Industries, and Her Excellency Lily Li Wensu, the Ambassador of the Republic of China Taiwan to Belize. The document formalizes the Belize Agricultural Product Processing Innovation and Incubation Project, a comprehensive 4-year and 6-month initiative valued at approximately $4.15 million. This ambitious project aims to propel Belize's agricultural sector into a new era by emphasizing value addition and fostering entrepreneurial growth among micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises (MSMEs). Belize is unique in Central America for maintaining a surplus of high-quality agricultural products, and recent statistics from the Ministry of Agriculture show a 17% increase in agricultural output value from 2019 to 2023. Furthermore, agricultural exports constitute nearly 40% of the nation's total export earnings. Despite these strengths, local farmers have faced persistent challenges, particularly in adopting modern processing technologies and expanding marketing capabilities. Such limitations have led to considerable wastage and lost economic opportunities, as unsold fresh produce often expires before sale. To address these issues, the project will establish an agro-processing incubation center at Central Farm in Cayo. This facility will serve as a hub for introducing cutting-edge agro-processing technologies, offering training for entrepreneurs, and strengthening the connection between production and markets. The initiative aims to train and mentor around 200 small-scale farmers, guiding them to develop and manufacture processed goods with extended shelf life and higher market value. And there is more news after the break. Stay tuned.
Orange Walk, are you ready? It's the annual Bob Marley Tribute 2026 OW edition.
No matter how green the grass is over there, you belong here with us.
Welcome to the overworld. Anything you can dream about here?
Some things are gonna come out about me. I can't live with it no more.
Put a track lock on itself. Who moves, I want to know.
From whiskeys and wines to elegantly crafted cocktails. Paired with charcuterie boards and perfectly seasoned steak bites, and much more. Perfect for celebrations, quiet nights, and every special occasion in between. 7 Notes Wine and Spirits, where every sip hits the right note.
Belize participated in the 39th meeting of governors of the Inter-American Development Bank IDB for Central America, Panama, and the Dominican Republic, held in Panama as part of preparations for the 2026 IDB annual meetings. Belize was represented by Narda Garcia, alternate governor of Belize to the IDB and chief executive officer at the Office of the Prime Minister, Ministry of Investment and Civil Aviation, and by Ms. Cinnamon Botoro, Belize's representative on the board of directors at the IDB. The high-level regional meeting brought together governors and ministers of finance from Central America, Panama, and the Dominican Republic to strengthen regional dialogue, align public police priorities, and advance coordinated actions at a critical juncture for the region. Through direct engagement with IDB senior management, the meeting served as an important consensus-building forum to define shared priorities, promote regional integration, and ensure coordinated participation with the IDB ahead of the 2026 annual meetings. The meeting highlighted initiatives aimed at strengthening competitiveness and inclusive growth, notably the launch of Talent Up, a regional initiative designed to expand digital skills, attract investment, and improve productivity. For Belize, Talent Up aligns closely with the Global Digital Services Project funded by the Inter-American Development Bank, which supports the development of Belize's global digital services investment policy. Today, these initiatives seek to upskill entry-level workers and business process outsourcing BPO professionals, address skill gaps, and better position Belize to meet global demand for higher value digital services. Through the partnership between Google and IDB, Belize will be granted 10,000 scholarships to provide skills in cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and data analytics. In addition, the meeting facilitated strategic bilateral engagements that enabled countries to advance national priorities within a broader regional framework. On the margins of the meeting, Belize held productive bilateral discussions with IDB President Ilan Goldfan, as well as with the Ministers of Finance of Costa Rica and Guatemala. These discussions explore opportunities to strengthen Belize's engagement with regional partners and identified areas where joint action can amplify development impact. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, in collaboration with the CARICOM Competition Commission (CCC) and the Commonwealth Secretariat, is convening a capacity-building workshop towards advancing fair trade reform in Belmopan from February 10 to the 12th, 2026. This initiative reflects Belize's commitment to strengthening economic governance and advancing fair competition in line with regional and international obligations under the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. The workshop will equip government officials, regulators, and key stakeholders with the capacity to actively engage in the development of Belize's national competition law. Participants will be introduced to international best practices, regional case studies, and inclusive policy perspectives, ensuring Belize's framework is modern, effective, and responsive to consumer and business needs. Sessions will highlight the role of competition in safeguarding consumer welfare, promoting innovation, and creating a level playing field for enterprises. And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Wednesday, February 11th, here on CTV3 News and Fiesta FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at ctv3belizenews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/ctv3belizenews or our YouTube channel at CTV3 News BZ. From all of us here at CTV3, thank you for watching and listening. Good night.